I think the human body's ability to feel subtleties is crazy. For me, movement is so much more than like growing a six-pack or a peach butt. You know, it's like about sharpening my mind-body relationship and being able to feel what my body is doing. And I love handstands because it makes you really have to feel everything that your body's doing. We're so distracted these days by the task at hand, and we're never tuning into our bodies, but our bodies have all this crazy software and hardware that's like constantly processing everything. Everyone is truly tuned into energy in their own way. How emotions embed themselves into the body is a very nuanced process. I developed these gut issues that I'd never had before.
No, this is blowing my mind. Isabel, I'm so excited that you're here to teach us about the importance of body work.
Yes.
And I also want to get into how we met because
So
that
funny.
was so funny
Yeah.
at the gym the other day. But for the listener who doesn't know a lot about body work, what is body work and why is it important for people to prioritize and dig into?
Yeah, so probably like a lot of people, they end up seeing what they do as this almost metaphor for life. So the word bodywork, when it goes in my head, it has a much broader meaning. But to me, that meaning is working with the body in a therapeutic way, right? It's like in the word body work, working with the body. And I think what differentiates body work from massage is that, at least the way that I work, there's a very clear therapeutic goal. So people can go to Massage Envy or, you know, the massage place and get these kind of generic one size fits all treatments that might relax you a little bit, but that person's not actually catering the session to your body's individual needs. They're giving you a cookie cutter approach to the same session that they gave the last person that came in. So the type of body work that I do, I primarily do something called Rolfing, which is like very deep tissue, specialized focused body work. And then also Chinate Song, which is a type of abdominal massage. The first question I have with clients is always like, I always say, how's your body feeling? Any aches and pains? And I have people really describe to me what they're going through. And it's like a little intake moment to understand, you know, I have this pain here and it's coming up into the neck. And I've gotten better at this point of being able to be like I can immediately see the session as soon as someone tells me what's going on. Then of course you change as the session's going, but it's a kind of long answer. But really, like when I'm in those sessions, it's like we're pinpointing what's hurting and we're almost like tracing it and following it throughout the body, kind of trying to chase it out a little bit. So, and why people should prioritize it is I think a lot of us today have all sorts of aches and pains. And sometimes like we become so used to it, right? And there's no shortage of ways to get out of feeling our pain, whether that's a drug or our distracting thoughts or the daily tasks at hand. And chronic pain is I spent a bit of time studying it myself. Chronic pain is definitely a really common issue. Pain takes people out of the workplace. Something very personal to me is that it keeps you from doing what you love to do. Like how annoying is it when you want to go to the gym or you want to go play volleyball or go on a run and you just have that thing that keeps you out of pain. So I feel like the body work that I do is in service of people's movement. That's how I see it.
I love that. I know you don't work in the same way with each individual.
Mm-hmm.
And when you meet a new client and you feel their body,
Mm-hmm.
then through that energy that you feel
Mm-hmm.
is how you then choose to work on them.
Yes.
How does that work? Are you even able to explain how you can feel someone's body and what they need?
It's a really good question. And I kind of like debunking this concept of intuitive body worker. Because
I love that word. I'm like, I want to try it.
No, maybe not so much.
I know so many people wouldn't necessarily feel that way, so I understand.
Maybe not so much debunking, but just explaining what's happening.
Yes.
Because, a lot of people have had experiences with a body worker or a therapist or something, and the client's like, how did they know what to do? And the way that a teacher at my training explained it to me, which I've very much found to be true in my own life, is, if you do thousands and thousands and thousands, or even, just hundreds of reps of something, your brain is constantly processing information unconsciously that you're not even aware of. And so for me, like, at the beginning, when I first started my practice, you're just going off of like the best tools that you have possible. But I think over time, you've worked with so many different bodies that you might feel something, and it's crazy, but like I'll be in the lower back and I can like almost feel something tugging in the upper back or in the hamstring. And then I know how to go to that other point. Like it's super subtle. I think the human body's ability to feel subtleties is crazy. And because we're so like constantly distracted, a lot of us don't tune into that. But with body work, I am literally like, I will spend like 10 minutes just in one point in this one area. If you tune into anything in your own body or someone else's, like you will learn to feel the subtleties. So I think it's just the reps of doing this. I mean, thousands of times with clients at this point. It's a cool feeling and it feels like magic. And it's like, I think sometimes people are like, oh, like, how did she know to go right there? Like the number of times I've put my elbow on someone, they're like, how did you know how to go right there? Like, I really think it's just reps, because when I first started doing it, I remember I'd put my elbow or my hand on people and be like, I don't know what the fuck I'm feeling. Like, I have no idea, but it was just getting more and more used to it and more comfortable doing it.
I love that so much. And I'm a believer that we do feel energies and we do have this intuitive, the more we practice our intuition, the better we can use it in our work, regardless of whether it's body work or for me, whenever I create 100%. Or when you're in a relationship, feeling that other person's energy without them saying a word.
Yeah.
I think there is power to practicing that muscle skill as on top. Do you agree with that? Or
totally. And I always say this because I've had really weird experiences in the past. That's a much longer conversation, which we could also talk about, but very weird experiences in the past where there's like a group and they think like this is the kind of energy that you tune into, and you should feel these things when you're doing these, practices and feeling subtle energy. And just something that I really personally believe over the years is that everyone is truly tuned into energy in their own way. And people see it, I don't know, it's like a chef that shows up at the farmer's market and they can just look at a few stands and all of a sudden they know what meal they want to make. Or like,
I just got shivers when you said that, because it's true.
It's so true.
It's like we all have the gift in some area.
Totally.
But we also have to be open, right?
Yeah.
Because if we cut off that skill, then we won't allow ourselves to open up.
Totally. Yeah.
Wow.
I feel like, I mean, exactly what you said before, like we all tune into energy. And I just think finding your own, well, it's kind of, I don't know, there's two directions. Like in some ways, maybe you could choose to do anything and eventually like you're going to learn to sense the subtle energy of that thing. But I think we're also intrinsically drawn to some things that makes it, that maybe like for whatever reason, like in this lifetime, that is the thing, the energy that you're supposed to be exploring. Like probably with you when you're, training clients, I don't know, you can just tell like what workouts or movements would benefit them, or you just sense those subtleties. And
yeah, that's so fascinating. And something else fascinating that I saw when I was looking through your Instagram, my granddad has always been focused on massaging our feet, and he's not spiritual and doesn't want to say that he believes in certain things, but kind of does anyway. When it comes to feet, for example, and having different points in our feet, and that if we massage them, then it releases different tensions that can help benefit us throughout the body. I'm terrible at explaining this, but I saw you posting something within that, and I would love for you I would love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah. So a term that I love, and I just feel like everyone and their mothers should understand this word, is proprioception, right? So that's your brain's ability to sense your body throughout space. And in a lot of ways, the movement background that I have, like first in volleyball and then in the handstands and calisthenics, for me, movement is so much more than like growing a six pack or a peach butt. It's like about sharpening my mind body relationship and being able to feel what my body is doing. And that's why, you know, when we met at the gym, you're like, that handstand was crazy. I love handstands because it makes you really have to feel everything that your body's doing. I digress, but coming back to the feet, a lot of our proprioception starts at the feet. And like, you know, a concept that we mentioned earlier before, we're so distracted these days by the task at hand, and that we're never tuning into our bodies, but our bodies have this, I mean, and our brains have all this crazy software and hardware that's like constantly processing everything. Our little sensors are working all the time, all over our body. Like, what's going on? How do we need to, you know, like change the situation, change our body, whatever. And the feet play an insanely huge role in that. And when they say it all starts at the feet, like it really does all start at the feet. Like your foot's ability to distribute weight properly and to be able to, you know, activate the muscles on the inside of the arch so it holds up everything else inside of your body. And I can't tell you how many clients I've seen, for example, that have had some kind of foot injury, whether it's a toe or, you know, an Achilles thing or plantar fasciitis, and then they have some other issue up the chain, whether it's the back or the hip. And like, yeah, again, our bodies are doing so many things unconsciously that we're not even aware of. But I really do feel like the feet are a really big area that people need to be aware of. Like that can just affect the rest of your body, the neck as well.
I was going to ask you about that.
The top of the neck. Yeah.
Yeah. So what about the neck?
So the neck, okay, I'm going to sound really nerdy right now, but so there's these little muscles at the very top of the neck called the suboccipital muscles. And so they're these tiny, I sound like such a nerd, but like they're such cute little muscles.
I love anything nerdy. So
they're such cute little muscles. And people are like, what the fuck is she saying? But then I show them a photo and they're like, I get it. They're these tiny little muscles that connect the top of the spine to the base of the skull. And they have the highest concentration of, muscle spindle, so like the this type of sensory receptor that measures how much a muscle is stretched, highest concentration of any other part in the body. So they're the most sensitive muscle in the human body. Some of the muscles are so short, right? They do this movement here, a little bit of this, but some of them are so short that anatomists believe they can't actually even move the head. They're just like sensors. They're just muscles that are there to sense things. And, you know, people who experience whiplash, for example, those muscles get hit really hard. And when those muscles are offline, it impairs your whole body's ability to basically integrate sensory information. And so, but it's not just whiplash and these kind of extreme traumas that can hurt these muscles. The fact that we're all like this, staring down all day. And it's not just, you know, staring at your phone, but like, I think I've worked on so many like dentists, for example, who literally are like this all day. Chefs, you know, a mom carrying her baby. Like our bodies are constantly being shaped by all these things that we're doing. But I think a very common issue of the modern human body, just because of this, is that these muscles are getting hit really hard because you're in this, as a general rule of thumb, right? Like your body is always adapting to the forces placed upon it. So when you're like this and these muscles are kind of elongated, but they're also kind of pulling you back because of the weight of the head, like that, they're getting super tight and they can't do their job of propriocepting your body.
And for anyone who isn't watching on YouTube or Spotify, she's looking down at her phone, which is what we all do all day.
You're probably doing it right now.
Or hopefully we're not, but many people do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what can someone do that maybe is like, this, I might have just heard this for a reason. Maybe my neck needs to be done something with. What could be like a step one? Yeah. So whenever people ask me questions like, what do I do for X, Y, and Z? I always like giving the answers first of like, here's what you can do by yourself. Yeah. So I'm not like, buy a session with me. But well, they should.
They should. But I feel like so many issues can be solved from stretching. And the neck isn't an area that we think of stretching a lot. We want to stretch our legs and, you know, our back or whatever. But the neck, like, you should see me in the car. I'm driving, and especially in this traffic, I'm like hanging out like this.
I love it. You're putting your head to the side.
Yeah, I'm hanging out like this.
I love that habit stacking. It's such a hack.
Yeah, totally.
Because you can stretching your neck, you can do that while you're working, while you're cooking, while you're driving. There's no excuses.
Between your sets at the gym,
Yeah.
the number of, I mean, I'm definitely guilty of this as well, but like when I have a good gym session, I'm being good to my neck. Between my sets, I'm sitting there and I'm like this, and, you know, or I'll even just jam my own thumb in there. You know, I mean, that's a really easy one too. Like you lift your thumb and you find the tight spots in your neck and just kind of move your head around.
I feel this.
Yeah.
I'm doing it right now.
Yeah, it's that's a good one.
I know that I think it's the exact muscles that you're talking about. I know that those are tight. I've also been dealing with migraine since I was like 13.
Super related.
And it makes sense that what it feels like is that those little muscles are tight and
little muscles.
yeah. And then it's almost like for me, sorry, this is a little side note.
All good.
But when I get migraines, it's when I'm the most relaxed. So it's after probably having been tensing those muscles.
Yeah.
And then when I relax, it's almost like it releases something within. There could be all sorts of reasons.
Yeah.
Some people say that it's mentally. Some people say that it's, I mean, I think it's a mix. Do you believe that the body and the mind are related?
For sure. I basically wrote my senior thesis in college on this.
Yeah.
It's what led me to Rolfing, actually.
Yeah.
So I majored in religious studies. So catches some people by surprise. I think I majored in like kinesiology or something, but majored in religious studies. And I wrote my thesis literally on the mind-body connection of trauma. And so I focused a lot on the book, The Body Keeps the Score by Bessel van der Kolk, which a lot of people know. And then also a lot of the works by Carl Jung, if you know him. He's kind of like the spiritual, better version of Freud. But I very, very much believe that the mind and body are connected. And I arrived at that belief not because I first read a book about it and then I was like, oh, wait, actually, yeah, that seems true. Like the reason I came to believe that is because I had some of these mind body experiences where I was like, what the hell just happened? Like my current framework of understanding the mind and body did not explain that. Therefore, I need to figure out what happened. And so it led me down this journey of trying to piece it all together. But I definitely see it with my clients. And it's interesting because, you know, I'm not trained as like a therapist or whatever, but, you know, sometimes I talked before about like having that sensitivity with energy and knowing where to work. Like sometimes I can see people and like I can just tell that the pain is not just physical. Like there's, you know, when the pain comes out of nowhere and they're going through a stressful relationship and even like the look on people's faces. And, you know, sometimes I'll just ask, I'll be like, is anything stressful going on right now? And the number of times people have been like, oh, well, I'm going through a divorce, or I'm going through a breakup, or like I lost my animal, and it's so interesting. And I don't think like there's a lot of paradigms out there, like there's whole books that you can buy that'll tell you like this symptom means this emotion and that pain means this. But I think the process of how emotions embed themselves into the body is a very nuanced process. I don't think neck pain means, you know, your maternal lineage is calling for you to process your ancestral trauma or something. Like it's very particular to the individual of how our emotions decide to express physically.
I love that you're sharing this because I'm a big believer of that as well. I don't know. So the first book I read ever was Louise Hay, Heal Your Life. She speaks about this too. And I've been rereading it. And my migraines are exactly that. It always has to do with like my mental state, but that probably then affects the way that my muscles tense up and how it all. Totally. And many times in my life, I've felt that it's been like, you know, people go on vacation and then they get sick after having worked hard for a full year or however long. What's an experience? You said that you've had like experiences in your life. Is there one that you'd want to share with us?
Yeah, it's a little bit of a longer story. The longer story maybe could be, well, we'll see how much of it we get into now. But okay, we'll just dive right in. So I was in a cult for 2 to 3 years of my life in college, and so that's what I mean. It's a long story. There was a lot going into it. There was a lot being in it, and there was a lot getting out. But basically,
we want to
Yeah.
if you're willing to share.
No, totally. Yeah. Let me just first share the physical symptom
Yeah.
and then we'll get into the details. But basically, within 2 days of deciding to work with this teacher, I developed these gut issues that I'd never had before.
No, this is blowing my mind.
Yeah. It was wild. But it was wilder even after the fact. But okay, so I start working with this teacher. And within 2 days I had these gut issues and I was like, this is weird. Like, where did these come from? And so I kept working with this teacher for a few months. It was largely, me working with him was largely dependent on the social group that I was a part of in college. And then summer hit. And so I was apart from them. And I went back to just practicing spirituality on my own terms, not being mediated by this self-proclaimed guru or this group of people. But the gut issues stayed around. And I was like, what is going on? Like, this is so weird. Like my core, like I felt like 10 pounds heavier. Just, I was not connected to like my core, to like my gut. And then, full disclosure, I took a very large dose of mushrooms one day, at a festival with 3 of my friends. And I just had this crazy cathartic release. Like I just felt like, it's funny to say that I felt like I saw things so clearly because I was on mushrooms, but I had this very kind of profound insight, and I just was like very talkative with my friends, and literally one of them, who's not a hippie at all, like a frat bro, he was like, I see energy leaving your body as well. And I was like, I don't know what he's seeing, but I was just having this crazy catharsis, like running around and jumping and crying. And I woke up the next morning and my gut was literally perfectly back to normal. Like perfect. It was insane. Okay, so that was towards the end of summer. And then I went back to college and I got back into that group of people and back with working with the teacher eventually, and the gut problems came back. And it's a longer story of how I eventually got out, and the issues have improved tremendously. But I really, really, really do feel like, like I was saying before, everyone's mind and body have a different relationship, and like our pains and our, difficult emotions put themselves in the body in different ways. But for me, I think it's always been my gut. And the reason it got so bad back then is I was like literally disconnecting myself from my gut instinct that those people and that teacher was like not good for me. And yeah.
That is blowing my mind, because I've had gut issues and been reflecting on something similar. So you sharing this with me just affirms that me and everyone listening should really pay attention to however it shows up for them, whether it's gut issues or whatever other issues, and pay attention to the energies that they're around.
Totally. I saw a really funny meme one time, and it was about, this one for me wasn't a bad romantic relationship. It was a bad social, spiritual relationship. But it was this meme about like the wellness girlies who are doing literally everything for themselves, like the good diet, the working out, the saunas, the cold plunge, but they're in a toxic relationship, and how it like basically cancels everything out. And I've known 2 or 3 women in my life that when they are in the midst of a really, really difficult relationship, like a super difficult parting, where it's like, how can I leave this person, or this, for one of them, it was a father figure. For another one, it was a romantic figure. And the third was also a romantic figure. But like when there's that struggle inside that you don't want to leave this person, like I know 3 women that this has happened to that have had severe gut issues. One of them was ulcers in her uterus. Another one was an 11-pound tumor in her abdomen. And then another one was I think something along the lines of endometriosis. And look, I will acknowledge I sound woo-woo as fuck right now, and that Western medicine would be like, how can you say that that's related to the emotions? But I'm like, dude, I'm sorry, but sometimes, and it's not even woo woo, like to know that, for example, like what cortisol does in the body, and
you're, just so you know, you're with the right audience.
Okay, cool.
Like,
thanks, guys.
This
Thanks.
is what we like.
Yeah.
Also, there's a fly in here. What is the representation of a fly? It's just sitting there.
Yeah, he's just like, wait, I want to hear it.
I love this. And I know that not just me, but whoever is listening to this, something in them, whether they're ready to acknowledge it or not, it can take time, right? You probably weren't from one day to the other ready to be like, I'm leaving this cult.
Oh, no. Yeah.
It takes time.
It takes time.
But it takes these little nudges to allow ourselves to become more aware of it. And with awareness, we can create that boldness that it's going to take to leave something that isn't good for us.
Yeah.
And finally listen to that gut intuition.
For sure. And it's interesting because when I tell people the full cult story, people draw a lot of relations to like a romantic relationship. And it's always interesting to me. I mean, ever since the cult experience, this feeling that people often have that they can't leave something. I mean, in a lot of ways, it makes sense. Like if you're in love with someone, love is not simple. Like someone can really hurt you and it can be not a good fit, but also like you really love that person. You don't want to disrupt the peace and you don't want to put them in pain.
Yeah.
And it's so tricky. I mean, we have it, I don't know, with work, even like a job that, I don't know, really needs you and you feel like you can't leave. Or, I mean, it could take so many different forms, but I feel like I can't is a very dangerous energy to play with. Like you better be sure if you're saying I can't do something, like you really can't, because I don't think people realize how much we really can do if you just decide. And look, like it can get very, very sticky. It was really sticky for me to leave the group. I mean, I was saved by the fucking pandemic. If the pandemic hadn't happened, I could still be in it, but like it's what really gave me enough space to get out of it. But breakups are tricky, whatever they look like, but it's very worth it to get on the other side if you really know it's not good for you. Like I have a good friend right now who just went through a breakup that she knew she had to do for a long time. And she, like, I literally told her, I was like, your face looks like lighter and brighter and like you let go of something. Like there's literally this cloud that's not over you anymore. And yeah, if you know you got to get out of something and you're still in it, this is your little nudge to
your clear sign.
Go on, get out.
Yeah. And it's interesting because the person listening who is in that situation knows it.
They're like, shit, she's talking to me.
Yeah. So take that in.
Yeah.
Okay. 2 things.
Yeah.
That I want to share with you on the microphone because I know that a lot of people can relate to this. So we met and we chatted and we wanted to hang out and we wanted to do a podcast, but you were like, are we doing it now?
Yeah.
Because you haven't been on a lot of podcasts, you said. And
First time.
And you were nervous as to whether or not how it goes. Because obviously if you've not been, then obviously it's like, wait, this is new. Everyone listening right now is like in on this conversation. Because the way you speak, it's just like value on excitement
Thank
and
you.
just I like could speak with you for 3 hours, which I know we can't do because you have a client to be in 15 minutes. But like,
we'll do a version 2, second round. Yeah.
I just think it's so interesting how sometimes because we haven't tried something before, we can speak ourselves into thinking I'm this way. That's why I'm saying it to use because I'm the same way. If I haven't done anything, I'll be nervous and I'll be like not. But just also a reminder for the listener, it's like just try, just because
For sure.
you're actually like you can tell that everything you're speaking on, you have so much knowledge and experience and you've taught us already so much from just like whatever 30 minutes we've been talking.
Yeah.
So it's just awesome. And just a reminder for me and also for the listener that like just
It's
we're
so true.
so hard on ourselves, right?
It's so true. Yeah.
And with that, I want to say, because I know you said it's a long story about the cult story, but I really want to know. And I'm sure we were talking about doing another episode at one point, but like if you'd want to come back at some point and share that with us.
Yeah, no, I'm a super open book about it. I'm actually, no pun intended, writing a book about it.
Are you?
Which is, it's I'm having to kind of brush off some of my writing skills because it's been a while. But every time I tell people this story, they're like, you should write a book.
Oh my God.
And so, it's vulnerable. It's really vulnerable.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like, I don't know, fear of disappointing people and fear that people are gonna be like, what was she a part of? And it is what it is. I feel like cults are kind of like a trending word right now. There's like so many cult documentaries and books about it, but it's, it happens.
I think it's, how when we're afraid of sharing something, the vulnerability of sharing it is really the strongest thing anyone can do. So when you just mentioned it before, I had no idea. But for me, what I saw was strength.
Yeah.
Because sharing that is proof that you've come on the other side, right? If you were still in it or still fearful of sharing that, you wouldn't have come to the strength part yet, because you would still be limiting yourself or holding yourself back.
Totally. It's been like 5 years since I got out, and so it's taken a lot of processing, and I feel this blockage in writing the book. I'm like, how does it end? And I was actually just talking to one of my professors from my college. It's so funny. She was given to me as a religious studies advisor right when I got to school. And I was like, why the fuck was I given a religious studies advisor? Like, I'm never going to study religion. But the universe was like, you are. And this woman's going to be important for you. So she's felt like a guide for me for a long time. But I was just on the phone with her about this book writing process. And I was like, I don't know how it ends. Like, honestly. And she was like, you don't have to know how it ends.
Yeah.
You just have to kind of share what you've learned so far, because I'm definitely not, some of the things are still being processed in their own funky ways. But no, I'm an open book about it, and feels timely that you're like, come on the podcast.
Yeah, and maybe that's a part of the healing process, sharing it.
Yeah.
And when you share it, for example, on this podcast, and someone is in that now realizing it, because oftentimes you don't realize it while you're in the middle of it, right?
So many people told me, like everyone in my life told me that I was in a cult, and I couldn't see it until I saw it. So it's also like it was letting go of like that guilt and almost like embarrassment. Like, how was I in that? But yeah, oftentimes you don't see it while you're in it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And who knows, sharing about it, people reaching out to you who are in like don't know what to do and all of it, like it's still going. So that's why you don't know the end yet, because there's still more healing to process.
For
and
sure.
Maybe people to help.
Yeah. Yeah.
That will heal you as well.
Yeah. I'm excited to share about it. I'm actually
so excited.
A week from tomorrow, I'm going back to my college to speak to the religious studies department and the sociology department to like share my story, because it's a very like I feel like I keep giving teasers, but like it's a very long story. There was all these articles written by newspapers on my college campuses that led to so many people in my life just like completely stopping to talk to me, or it led them to not talk to me anymore. And yeah, huge thing, lots of layers, but they invited me back. They're like paying me to like go and speak there about my experience. Like probably an interview pretty similar to this with one of the professors who was involved. And I'm like, I can't believe I'm doing that, but here we are.
Wow. If you need a practice run, then we'll be here. We'll be all ears.
Yeah.
We'd love that. And I know that you don't have too much time left, but I do want to share how we met, because I was at Gold's Gym. I just moved to Santa Monica, and I'm about to do my pull-ups, and then I look to the left, and there's this girl, like strong AF, on one arm, just like balancing on one hand and handstand. Just like, I was like, wow, that's impressive. I wanted to come up to you and say that, but then you come up to me.
No, it's funny because like you had your headphones on, and like between me doing handstands and you were like setting up your pull-up thing, this is so funny. And some guy saw me doing this, but you were like focusing on putting the weights on your belt, and I was like, hey, and this guy is
me? Were you saying hi?
I was like, cool. She's like either ignoring me or
I was not.
Or she is just like in her
I
head.
tend to be in the zone. Like people will say that like I'm just like in my own world when I'm working.
No, but it was so funny because this guy like saw me doing it. I was like, stop, I'm just trying to talk to her. And then we found a moment, and it's funny because like, yeah, you were like one of the first fitness influencers I followed, and I like would still, you know, can still remember like the ab workouts you'd post on like these lifeguard towers. And
That's wild, because that was back when I lived in Huntington Beach, which must have been in 2020, 2021.
Yeah, long time ago.
Yeah. And now we live in the same place.
I know, yeah,
That's
it's crazy.
so wild.
Yeah.
I think it was meant to be.
Yeah.
Now we're gonna become friends, hopefully.
Let's
I want to
do
be
it.
friends.
Yeah, I need to get on your weighted pull-up game. I was like, okay,
I need
sick.
to get on your one-handed handstand. I can do a two-handed handstand.
Yeah.
So I just got
nice.
some years of practicing to go.
Yeah, just a little ironing it out. Yeah, you'll get it.
I feel like it's the same as saying like I could do one pull-up. So doing a pull-up with
Yeah.
one arm, easy.
Easy.
No, I think that would be fun to learn. Yeah.
We'll get some training sessions in too.
Yeah, I would love that. Oh my goodness, this has been so fun.
Yeah,
I've enjoyed it so much.
touched so many good topics. Yeah,
Yeah.
there'll be more.
There will be. And for anyone who wants to check out your work now, I just went to stalk your Instagram page, and I just got to say, anyone who's found this fascinating will also find your page very fascinating and just learn a lot about body work.
Yeah,
And how to tune in and do better for your body.
Totally.
Where can people find you?
So my Instagram is one.soma, one.soma. I also have a movement page, which is isabel.moves.
I'll put all the links in the description.
And then my website is onesoma.co. And yeah, you can find all the other info, contact information, all that there.
Incredible. I do have one final question for
Yeah.
you that I like to ask people who come on my podcast. So my podcast is called Challenge Your Norm. Whatever intuitive thing comes to you, if you had to give the person listening one challenge for them to improve their life in some way, what would you challenge them to go out there and do?
Don't just think you have to stay in something or keep doing something because that's what you're familiar with. Don't let comfort can really kill you, and fear of the unknown is not worth not seeing another option. Oh, it's very broad. I'm kind of thinking what I was talking about with the cult stuff, but like be willing to break free of what's comfortable to you.
It's so big because I think you can relate it to all areas of your life. And so everyone listening will have something where they know they're staying too comfortable.
Yeah.
That's so good.
Yeah.
Thank you so much
Yeah,
for
thank you.
doing this. It was awesome.
Yeah, thank you.